Critical Analytics. Welcome. Sulaiman Rahim here, Messenger of the Covenant, breaker of the seven seals. This is War Talk. War Talk segment. We're going to talk about the Abrahamic covenant today. Most black folks don't know anything about the Abrahamic covenant. That's by design. So we're going to talk about the Abrahamic covenant today. First, I'm going to show a brief clip, and then we'll go into the subject matter. Okay, bear with me for a second. Here we go.
Or
24?
Yeah. Okay. Oh, no. This is number 24. So scientists are mystified as Africa avoids COVID-19 disaster. Doc, they can't figure out what's going on in Africa. Let's read one paragraph.
Right. But there is something mysterious going on in Africa that is puzzling scientists, said Wafa Al-Saider, chair of Global Health at Columbia University. Rick, Africa doesn't have the vaccines and the resources to fight COVID that they have in Europe and the U.S., but somehow they seem to be doing better, she said. Fewer than 6% of the people in Africa are vaccinated. And for months, the WHO has described Africa as one of the least affected regions in the world in its weekly pandemic reports.
So Africa has fewer people infected with COVID than any other place in the world.
Right.
But they have fewer people vaccinated.
Yes.
Duh. What do you think this could be? I mean, it's the vaccine.
The correct analysis. Now you might want to, they told you this report that's being published, monthly? They told you the name of it, so you should be able to Google it and go back the last almost 2 years and see the pattern, because not only Africa, but Haiti, almost every place that most black people live is unaffected. But somehow black folks in America just being ripped apart by it, which is a bald-faced lie. They've been lying about it from the beginning. They're lying about it now. They know what this is all about, but they won't tell you. And initially they would say, 80% of black folks affected, 90%. And they play percentages games. See, because, they said, there's 90% dying, or 80% dying. But they don't tell you how many people got it. So in other words, you got 1 million people, but 10 people get it, and 9 people die. That's 90% of the people that got it. That's not 90% of all the people that's there. That's a minor percent. And they say 60% of Africans are vaccinated. That means almost virtually none. Virtually none. Because if you got 1 million people, you know what 6% is? 6% of 100 is just 6. 6% of 1,000 is 0.6. 6% of 10,000 is 0.6. 6% of 100,000 is 0.6. 6% of a million is 0.6. Almost non-existent. Almost no one in Africa is getting it, in vaccine. But yet they're virtually unaffected by it. See? Haiti was the same thing. They killed their president. And the people that's vaccinated probably in that country where they wouldn't kill their president, because he called them out on the vaccine and proved it was a bull. It was a big scam. Next thing you know, he was dead. Young guy. They know he was dead. Next thing you know, he was dead. Same thing in Haiti. They refused the vaccine because they was unaffected. They said no, their president's dead. This is the big scam that you ever seen. See, if Africa is unaffected, yet it's supposed to be the poorest continent, the people most densely populated, they're not wearing masks. Excuse me. When they were showing those rioting in South Africa a while back, remember that? Then suddenly they stopped talking about it because they noticed in the pictures nobody was wearing masks. And it was all crowded together rioting. Nobody was wearing masks, yet nobody's affected. So we don't talk about it anymore. So why isn't Farrakhan talking about it? If that is the fact that Africa is least affected, that should be big news all over the planet. There's people trying to figure out what's going on. It should be big news all over the planet. Planet pandemic, and Africa is unaffected. That should be big news. That'd be all over the news. Nobody's talking about it. I've been talking about it for years. I've been warning you for 30 years, over 30 years, about the Abrahamic covenant. The covenant they don't want you to know about. The covenant Farrakhan constantly lies to you about. The one that he denies, the one he despises. You say, oh, he talks about it. No, he doesn't. Read it. He reads the first few lines. He only tells you about us coming over here. He doesn't tell you about the result. See? Oh, there was a car accident. Okay. What happened? They don't tell you that. What happened? See, they say, oh, well, how we got here. Abrahamic covenant. But what's the result? What's the result of it? He don't talk about that because the result is we're going back home, and there'll be a plague that will kill the firstborn that would start off the process, and that plague would come right after the 400 years, and that plague will start and kill the firstborn, which is the elderly, and pass over us. That's exactly what it says. Read it. It's in so-called Old Testament and so-called New Testament, right? So you can't say abrogated, right? And we officially came over in 1619 to 2019. That's 400 years. In 2020 came a plague right on time, like it says, that will kill the firstborn, which is elderly, and pass over us. That is it. That's what they want you to know about. The Jews know about it because they claim that's their religion. They claim that's happening. In the womb, they're taught that. When they come out of the womb, that's already printed upon their mind about the Abrahamic covenant and that Exodus is them and all that kind of stuff. So when they saw this hit in 2019, they know exactly what that meant in 2020. And I was telling you back this way back for years, even in 2019, they knew exactly what that was. Because they know the cover was blown. See, because they've been trying to pretend they're true seed of Abraham, right, for 1,000 years, and then they set false Israel to underscore that. See? But they had help with that, help from America and Britain, right, because they were the enslavers. They're the ones that Abrahamic covenant talks about that took and enslaved us. So they could have the world thinking that we're the true seed of Abraham, because what would that make them? That would make them the devils, the evil people that enslaved us, that God's going to punish. In 1948, because Elijah Muhammad declared that we were the true seed of Abraham, which messed up their whole game plan. See, because they pretended that they was the spiritual seed of Abraham. See, I'm going to talk a little about this. See, you need to understand the history of this. See, they've been pretending they was Jews all the way back to the time of Jesus, 2,000 years ago. But Jesus called them out. He said, no, because Jesus said, know the truth, read it. Stop listening to these clowns and read it for yourself. Because it's your life, it's your history, it's your life, it's your future, it's your children's future, it's your family's future. Depends on this information. So you're going to trust these people because they ask you for money and live in high and hog on you? He said, know the truth and truth will make you free. And they called him out. What you mean? We ain't never been in prison by anybody. We never been in bondage to anybody. Now remember, Exodus is supposed to happen before Jesus, 2,000 years ago. So he said, we've never been in bondage to anybody. They said right there, they admitted that never happened to them. And Jesus called them out. He doubled down on them. He said, you're not the seed of Abraham. He said, because if you were the seed of Abraham, the works of Abraham you would do. You wouldn't be out here stealing people's land and genocide and murder and rape and slavery and oppressing people. He said, you're doing Satan's work. He said, you're false the devil and you're doing his works. Aren't those the works of the devil? You're going to tell me that when they came over here, they burst out of Europe 2,000 years ago, they burst out of Europe 500 years ago, that they spread peace and love and joy all over the world? They spread hatred, tyranny, disease, murder, oppression, and oppression supported by terrorism, backed up by terrorism. They terrorized us 400. You mean to tell me black folks suffered all that indignation and humiliation and everything, right? Because why would they say, y'all got to do this? Or were they terrorized into it? This is a terrorist nation. And Jesus called them out on it. And you see that works. You see the works they have done? Or have them done works? Have they trees like beasts or trees like angels? Can a tiger change the stripes? So they know that that does not, but they've been making that claim for 1,000 years. And the other Europe knew they was lying. They all knew they was lying. All the European other countries knew they was lying. So it came to a boiling point back in the 1940s, when they tried to eradicate them finally. You don't know the whole story about that. They trying to claim innocence. You understand? I'm going to give you a brief little statement about that. But the point is, in World War I, Germany was at war with Europe, with the rest of Europe, and they were winning. And the British went to the German Jews, right, and extracted, right, and extracted help with a promise that after the war, they would support them returning back. Returning, that's a lie. Taking over the promised land, right? So-called Jerusalem. See, but that's not the promised land anyway. The promised land is Arabia. It tells you that in the Abrahamic covenant. But he will support them taking that land if they support them in the war against Germany. So they betrayed their country and caused Germany to lose the war. That's how Germany lost the war, and Germany was winning that war. They lost because their German Jews betrayed them. And they lost, and it caused them a disaster, and the economy was totally destroyed. They had total inflation. They was oppressed by all other countries. They had to pay reparations. Everything. It was a total disaster, and they had Germany on their knees. You see, and so when they came back, they took revenge on the traitors. America would have did the same. Any country would have did the same thing, and that's what that was all about. It wasn't that they just wanted to just burn up people. They was taking revenge on them for what happened in World War I. That's the truth of it, but they hide it from you. Okay. But anyway, they was hated by all the European countries, and so nobody tried to stop what the Nazis was doing to them. Nobody tried to stop that because they didn't care, and they hated Jews over here as much as they did over in Germany, because they had this pastor. He was very popular. I forgot what his name was. He was totally what they call anti-Semitic. Wait a minute, first of all, they're not Semites. The Jews are not Semites. See, the Arabs are, and we are. They're not. I mean, Semites, you came from Abraham. They didn't come from Abraham. But he said he was more anti-Semitic than Nazi were over here in America. And anytime any Jews came here, tried to escape, they sent them back. They knew they were sending them back to their death. They didn't care about them. But then in 1948, all of a sudden, somebody flipped the switch. You see? Because what happened, Elijah Muhammad announced that we're the true seed of Abraham. And we had the credentials to prove it. We got 400 years history of these people. We see what they did. They brought us to a foreign land that's not ours. They oppressed us and beat us and afflicted us, just like it said they would do. And they couldn't allow that narrative to go, because they claimed that they were the spiritual seed of Abraham. They claimed that they was the spiritual seed of Abraham, because what the whole idea was is that Jesus, see, listen to them. See, that's what they, listen, go and look, read the history. Their claim was that because the Jews rejected Jesus, the Abrahamic covenant was abrogated. God canceled it. See, and gave it to the Europeans, which those so-called Jews in Israel, they are Europeans. The Ashkenazi, I'm not saying pronounced correctly, probably Ashkenazi Jews, whatever, they converted. That's a long story, but anyway, they know it, so they fake. They fake in every respect. So they claim that the covenant was transferred to them spiritually. So the Christians claim, the Christian Europeans claim that the covenant was transferred to them spiritually. So they're spiritual seed Abraham. So now they claim the covenant. And they was going along with that and oppressing the Jews, right, ever since 2,000 years ago. Because they said now the covenant is turns them, and they call the Jews Christ killers. And so that's why I was hating them. That's the truth of it. So that gave, and so then they went to dark ages, see, left to their own, see, they're robbing us. And you don't understand it. We're their treasure, gold and silver. But when they was pushed back up in Europe and they had no access to anybody else. See, because they're shit makers. See, they're swine, that's all they can do is make mess. And so when they left up in Europe by them on their own, if they superior people, right, they should have made a paradise out of it. But no, it was a hellhole. They was in hell. There was an abyss. Chapter 20 of Revelation, that was them. There was an abyss for 1,000 years. At the same time, Prophet Muhammad's Islamic empire rose. That's what it is in chapter 20 of Revelations. And for it locked them up in the bottomless pit for 1,000 years. The devil, Satan, all of them. And then they would come bursting out as Gog and Magog, American Britain, after 1,000 years, right? And they would take and they prevail over everybody else, all over the whole world that they didn't realize existed until they came out of the pit, and they covered the whole world, deceiving everybody. They're trying to tell you that's the future. No, that's already happened. It's Gog and Magog. And they came out with their Christianity. See, Christianity and Catholicism are two different things. Christianity, as you know it now, started 500 years ago with people like Martin Luther. See, it started 500 years ago. That's why the lessons say, how old is Christianity 500 years old? Because it started 500 years ago. That's not Catholicism. Catholicism was like mostly reverence to the Pope. See, but this came out, Christianity, right? And this Christianity came out with, see, that was the bottom line was on that was that they was a spiritual Abraham, that everything belonged to them. So they went out, they burst out of Europe with destruction, the thieves, stealing, murder, destruction. That's what it says. Satan, right? He seeks to steal, destroy, and what I thought, what all say, they say, steal, oppress, destroy, whatever. But you can read the quote. That's what they came out doing. So that's tells you what they would do. That's what they came out doing. They left nothing but, in their wake, they left but destruction, murder, disease, tyranny. Because everybody they found people successful, progress, and healthy and everything else. When they left destruction, tyranny, demons, through raping of women and everything else. That's what left behind them, because that's all they could do. Until they got a hold of us, the golden goose, the goose that laid the golden eggs, and they start stealing our golden eggs. And then they present the golden eggs like they produced them. See, we produce, no, you produce shit. That's what you do. But they were saying this would give them the right to do it because that's the sealed Bible we're talking about. They gave them the right to do it. Why? Because they were the spiritual seed of Abraham and the whole world belonged to them. And anybody that got in their way, right, needed to be destroyed because they was fighting against God, because God's will was them to take over everything. That's what they're driving for us. Until they ran to Elijah Muhammad, the messenger of Master Farad Muhammad, right, back in the 30s. And when he announced that we're the true seed of Abraham, that means the false Jews were not, false Israel, and they're not the spiritual. That was a problem. See, because we had evidence, we had the facts, we had the proof, we had the evidence right here. We are the evidence. We are the evidence. See, so either get rid of the evidence, right, or try to change the facts. Like say, facts on the ground. So then they established false Israel in 1948, the Antichrist. Established false Israel to prove, in other words, remember they was burning them up a few days earlier. They was burning up false Israel because they say and after Elijah Muhammad made those claims, they really, the false Israel should be praised to Elijah Muhammad because he saved their ass. But if he hadn't came and made that announcement, they would have burned all of them up. Every one of them. That was their plan. But then they had to use them. Oh no. Because see, we had a valid claim more valid than their claim of being the spiritual seed of Abraham. Because they're like orphans, right? But we were family. We blood. And oh man, they got a better claim than we do. So they had to resurrect false Israel. One day was burn them up, next day, right? The ass became honey and everybody was eating, right? Ass became beehives, right? And everybody was eating the honey. All of a sudden, overnight, all of a sudden they fell in love with the Jews after 1,000 years. Don't that tell you something? So they said false Israel in 1948. They counter the truth of the matter. See? And they support them with everything they can because they have to prove that we're not the true seed of Abraham. They have to clear it. Because we're the true seed of Abraham. You see what happens? That's trouble for everybody. That's trouble for them because that means they're devils who've been pressing us that God's going to get. That's trouble for the jinn, the Saudi Arabs over there, because they're sitting on our land. You see? That's trouble for the demons who've been living off us as Master's children, the house Negroes, that Master, you ain't gonna live off us, but you live off of them. Because if we go, they're parasites. If we go, they die, because they don't have nobody to live off of, because Master ain't gonna let them live off of them. They said, no, when they so-called took us off the chains, Master says, hey, you gotta get a house, because we ain't got no Negroes here on the farms no more. No laying the golden egg for us, work for us, put food on our table. See? So, hey, you got to either get out here or you got to get out in that field. See? Master, what we going to do, Master? What we going to do, man? What we going to do? Okay, well, you can live off of them. You ain't learn anything? We live off of them. You live off of them. That's what you've been doing ever since you've been here, living in my house. You know, you've been here living out, you preachers and everything, living in the house, living off of him, because what I get, you get from me, you get from me, what I get from them. And the more I get from them, the more I can give to you. Yeah, I understand, Master. And they went to work, living off of us, and they still do it today. These so-called celebrities, right? These so-called actors, these so-called athletes, these so-called politicians, see? And why do they call themselves? My name is Amos Rosenbaum. Because the name they gave you was like branding a cow or branding a horse. That's to prove your ownership. So the name they gave you when you was in the fields, that wasn't a surname for you. That wasn't a family name for you. That was not your family name, fool. That was their brand on you, so everybody knew that who they belonged, you belong to. So if you been on a pass or you went someplace, what's your name, boy? My name is Amos Rosenbaum. Oh, you belong to L. Rosenbaum. Well, make sure you get back in the stable when you finish your business, boy. That's what that's all about. So why would you want to wear those names if you know that's the purpose of it? You think a cow or horse, once they became wild again, the first thing they wouldn't do if they could do it, pay that brand over their ass? But if you're a demon, that is your surname, because Master was your father. So you can't blame the demons for walking around talking about, my name is Amos Jackson, because that's his real name. But if you're not a demon, that's your brand, and you're a fool if you associate with it any kind of way. In any kind of way. If you search today, any kind of way, you're a fool, period. I don't care if you like it or not. You're a fool if you search that name any kind of way. Like somebody pour shit on you and you don't wash it off, or you wash some of it off. You must like have shit on you, because that's what it is. It's proof of ownership that they own you, and you don't have any problem with that because you still carrying that brand. Because it's not even a name, it's a brand. It's not even a name, it's a brand. Jeffrey Apple Tree. Denzel Washington. Those are demons. See? Those are demons. My name is Jerry Brownleaf. Yeah. Oh, you belong to Brownleaf. I don't belong. Yes, you do. You got your brand on. You announcing it. You proclaim it. Elijah Muhammad told you. He warned you to get rid of those names. He warned you. And the Bible warned you. And I've warned you. You show up with those names in judgment, and that's case closed on your ass. So, well, I changed my name, but what's on your license plate? Oh, my name on the license plate. That's Jimmy Goldsmith. Why did you change your name? Well, I did. Oh, that was your fake name, because your official name is what's on that driver's license. That's your real name, because that's the one Master gave you, and you keep it. So it means you're proclaiming that you're still owned by him. Because if you didn't, you would have changed it to let him know you ain't owned by him no more. See? Well, it's on my Social Security. Yeah, because you're still owned by him. Okay? Well, they made laws, right? Because before 911, you could just change it. That's what I did. I said, man, when I found out, man, get the hell. I washed that shit off me as fast as I could. You told me, well, you got to go to court. I said, man, hell with you. I said, F you. You forced that brand. I mean, I got to ask you to take it off. That means I might as well keep it on if I got to ask you to take it off. So they changed that from 911. Why they changed? They didn't change it because white folks changed their name because they changed because they want you. That's one of their final pokes in your eye that you got to ask Master. And I said, can you stop? Can I have my name back? Master, please, can I have my name back? That's basically what it is. That's what you got to do if you want to stay here. Because remember, we're in an analytic society, and you got to think analytically to survive here. But even so, under the old condition, you're still better off asking Master to give your name back than sitting right here and keeping it. Because you show up, you read that story about the man came to the marriage dinner, and he wasn't dressed for it. Well, he asked you, what the hell are you doing that name? Now, brothers and sisters that have not heard this message, right, they get a pass. Because once you heard this message and you don't get no pass. I don't care who you are. Only one's getting a pass, because that was the promise. Because we ain't gonna blame, we're not gonna hurt our brothers and sisters because they was throwing this shit and they smell like shit. And they ain't seen no water. See? So that was the promise. We're gonna deliver you. We're gonna give you some water and wash you up. But now if you've seen water and you don't want to wash yourself up, then we're gonna leave your ass right in the pit. Once you've seen the water and you don't use it, what does that tell us? That you like being a pig. You like being covered in shit. You like being owned by a master. The Abrahamic covenant. So I brought it up to when they set that thing up. They set it up because they trying to cancel that narrative. Elijah Muhammad was saying that we're true to Abraham. And most black folks don't know about the Abrahamic covenant. Why? And why isn't Farrakhan talking about it? And he said, yeah, Abrahamic covenant, how we got it. That's all. He don't say what happened. Oh, that was an accident. Okay, what happened? Read the whole thing. See? Those people that claim to find Elijah Muhammad, they're all liars. Because they would be this with this message. Because they're all liars too. Because they say, Master Muhammad said, we would not return to have thorough knowledge of self. Do they have thorough knowledge of self? Hell no, they don't. They don't know. They don't have to prove that. But we said return. Return where? Return back to America? We're not return. That means going back to where we came from. That's what return means. But they ain't teaching you that, are they? They're trying to be a better American or whatever. They ain't talking about that part. The reason why I ain't talking about that part because they use you for merchandise. They got the little cliques going. They hoping one day they'll be like Elijah Muhammad, have a big following, a lot of money, or like Farrakhan, bringing in the dough, you understand, living in mansions. That's their dream, which never gonna happen. But they ain't telling the truth. And then it says, right? It says, we reserve the lessons. Remember, these people that claim they were Elijah Muhammad. It says, the lesson, we reserve the best part of the planet Earth for ourselves. It said, why in the devil living on the worst part of the planet? And why we said, because we reserve the best part of the planet, it says in Arabia. You reserve something because you plan on returning to it. You plan on regaining it. You reserve something you don't want anymore. So why we want the worst part of the planet Earth? Well, it tells us right here that Farrakhan said, we're going to inherit this. Okay, you're going to inherit the worst part of the planet Earth? What the hell you want that for? Well, let's say the best part belongs to us. You're saying that because the Arabs already paid his ass off to stop them telling about the Abrahamic covenant. They don't want you to know anything about the Abrahamic covenant. They don't want you to know anything about it, right? Because they want the enemies too, because they sit in your land, and they don't want you to come back and get their land. So they say, oh, come on. See, because they betrayed us into this situation we're in right now anyway. Restored Joseph. They betrayed us into this situation anyway. See, that story of Joseph is a true story, but it didn't happen in the past. It's our history. They betrayed us into when they found that we was a top family. See, we're the top family. See, because we're Isaac, and they're Ishmael, and Isaac is the true inheritor. See, because that's what God says. He's going to bless Isaac, Sarah's son, who is Abraham's wife, with the inheritance. But he had a son by his maid, right? Ishmael. He was the older one, but he figured, I'm the oldest, I should get the inheritance. No, but he was a son by his maid. You was not a son by his wife. And so that's Ishmael, that's the Arabs over there. They done got light skin now. They was dark before. And they betrayed us, right, in Africa, because they was controlling the northwest coast of Africa. The Arabs was controlling it. Europeans had no access into it, only through the Arabs. Arabs guided them in. There was the guys in the rivers, the stealing black folks, and they betrayed us into the hands of Egypt. That's what it says they would do. And we came over here in 1555. Took 64 years. I'm not going through the whole process, right? 64 years to turn us into slaves. That's what Elijah Muhammad taught. But Lion Farrakhan, right, because he was pushed against the wall, how come he didn't see this plague coming? Because it's easy call, 1619 to 2019, that's 40 years. 2020 will be a plague that would kill the firstborn and pass over us. And he didn't see it coming. He ran to COVID-19 at 2,020 miles per hour like everybody else did. And then I didn't. I was the only one calling on it. Got proof of it. And so, therefore, he had this plan. Oh, no. Slavery started in 1555, which was a damn lie. And everybody already know it's a lie because the lesson is right clear. Elijah Muhammad said slavery did not start in 1555. Said we came over here in 1555. And he talked about this 64-year secret. So why is there a secret that slavery started in 1555? He said it took 64 years to convert us to turn us into slaves by taking our children and separating our children from us and raising them as slaves. It took a 64-year process. That's what Elijah Muhammad taught. But Farrakhan, he's trying to cover his ass because he knows all the people over there that's around him, if they're still around, they got to be fools or demons. Oh, no. It started in 1555. He knows a damn lie. So he can say, well, that means 1955 should have been the 40 years. I mean, 1956 should have been a plague, which it wasn't. That means we're not the true seed of Abraham. Because he's a damn lie. He's a demon that follows the devil. He don't want us to leave either because he's the parasite. He's been living off the Nation of Islam. That's been his private little candy land for the last 42 years. He ain't produced a damn thing. That's why it says in Malachi, when a man robbed God, who's it talking about? He says he's robbed the whole Nation of Islam. What nation he talking about? He wasn't robbing America. America is the one that's being destroyed in Malachi. He wasn't robbing America. He was robbing the nation of Elijah. And he said he would be cursed with a curse. Now, what's the worst curse that a man could think of? What's the worst curse that a man could think of? Being disemboweled. That's exactly what has happened to him. He's shitting and pissing in the bag. I mean, how can you miss it? So that's why he's not talking about the fact that Africa is being uninfected, because he's been told to keep his damn mouth shut. So he said, well, why he's wearing a mask? Because he's a demon. He's scared. So why don't he take the vaccine? Because he got inside information. He knows what that vaccine is for. He needs to help you. It's not a vaccine anyway. It's a going away gift. Because they know exactly what this means. That's why they're lying to you. It's not affecting black folks all over the planet, but somehow it's just devastating us over here. I don't wear a mask, and I ain't took the virus. I ain't took that so-called vaccine either. And I've had COVID. I'm just getting over it now. You hear my cough every now and then. I think I had it twice. And I'm almost 73 years old. It just said you wouldn't get it. It just said it wouldn't kill you. It passed over you. And the blacks that are killing here are demons. It says half of the blacks in America are demons. See, so therefore, if they are dying, it ain't you. It's them. Because they the devil, they masters black sheep. They masters children. They masters children. They got the same nature as masters. Got your skin tone. That's all they got. So yeah, it's not passing over them, but it's not going to kill you. That's the promise. See? That's why he's wearing a mask. That's why he ain't taking the vaccine. Because he got inside information, know exactly, because he been paid off. This hotel thing, that hotel or whatever you call it, about what the FBI wanted, it was on his website. We took it off his website, off Farrakhan's website. And that's what they said. They wanted somebody, right, that could take and change the direction of the NOI after Messenger leave. Somebody who's going to stop this race hatred, those ain't those anymore, right? Stop the nationalization, right? We ain't going nowhere now, right? Change it to self-improvement, Scientology and Sunnism. Come on. He gave him everything he wanted. And at the same time, he's called Elijah Muhammad and Master Muhammad liars and tricksters. Because the whole purpose of Master Muhammad will come here is to start the process of us returning home. That's what he said. That's the whole sacrifice Elijah Muhammad made for 40-some years to prepare us to go home, to start getting us thinking about self and thinking about nation building and preparing us to start thinking about nation building, start being independent and to return home. That's he said we'd be fools to want to stay here in the land of our imprisonment. But Farrakhan said, oh well, I'm not trying to change it. Elijah Muhammad said, if they prevent us from leaving here, then he will accept some land of our own here. Only if they prevent us from leaving here. But he said at the same time that we got the tapes to prove it, we'd be fools to want to stay here in the land of our imprisonment. See? So that's the fact of the matter. They don't want you to know about Abrahamic covenant. They're lying to you. These preachers lying to you because they told they better not teach about the Abrahamic covenant. They better not teach about the promised land. They told Martin Luther King the same thing. We got the picture of Martin Luther King the day before he went to meet Elijah Muhammad. Elijah Muhammad pulled his coat about the Abrahamic covenant, about the promised land. See? So it obviously had an impact on Martin Luther King because he went out the next day and gave a speech about it, where they told him, do not give that speech. They told all these preachers and everything after they set forth Israel, do not get that speech. Because before, black folks used to talk about, go down, go Moses, go out in freedom land. People they used to identify themselves with, but slave masters didn't do it because they were just niggas. They don't mean nothing. They don't know nothing. So because they got it from the Bible that the masters preachers that was given it to them, right? Because that's what the preachers were. They were master children. They were designed to go out there and tell you to make you a better slave, to make you docile to master. Love master no matter what he do. Return good to master no matter how bad he is. Don't look for no paradise here, because if you look for paradise here, that means you're going to lose your paradise after you die. Make master happy. Help build master paradise here. Or nothing for you. And then the more you suffer here, the greater your rewards will be in heaven. That was the message, and that's the message in the Bible. That's the sealed Bible. The sealed Bible was given to them for them to rule for 500 years. And that's what the preachers were telling them, because they was told that. And they was glad to tell them, because the more hard you work, the better it was for them. The better clothes they got. A dog, when the master's poor, the dog eat scraps. Master get more money, he start getting dog food. He get a little better, right? He get a little, he get a little meat. Get a little better, he might get some ham. A little better ham. Sometimes he's rich enough, the dogs might eat steak. And so the more harder the slave, the house Negroes got you to work, the better for them. And plus, they was like a role model for you, because they would say, "Hey man, Master would tell me, if you work hard, you be like Amos, Jefferson up there. So you can be like him." And so you working your ass off, because you in the fields, you out there, man. You got no shoes on, it's cold. You got one pair of shoes, you wore them out, right? You got one pair of shoes a year, you wore them out. You got barely clothes. You're working 24/7 out in that field in the hot sun, right? You're tired. You can't claim you're tired. You're having access to females, right? The males don't have access to females. Have access to males. In fact, the females be out there naked sometimes, so the slave, taskmaster could jump down and have his way anytime he wanted to. So she out there with no clothes on, working her ass up, picking cotton, being raped anytime he had a forethought. And so you look over there at Master's children, at Jesse Jackson and Sharpton and Oprah. Man, I want to be like them. Who wouldn't? I want to get out this field. Oh, if you work hard, you would be like them. So you work and get your hypertension and everything else, trying to be like them. And they never gonna happen, because you ain't Master's child. He ain't gonna never let you get up there, because they can't trust you. They trust them. They got the same heart he got. The only problem is they got a dark tone. See? Their skin tone is they're black sheep, but they sheep just like, they think just like him. They feel just like him. They got that skin tone. They ain't gonna let you up there, because you're gonna betray them the first chance you get. And that's the truth of the matter. And so it's still going on today. They don't care about you. Where they live with Master. And so they was like a role model, if you could do, incentive. If you work, the harder you work, and then they use the black women, they use them as incentive too. They out there to feel like you are, right? They tell them, oh man, because all these stories, they try to humanize the stories. Those stories they show you in movies, they can't show you the real picture. They can't show you the real picture. Because even the dumbest, the most dead of you would blow up on they show you the real story. And it's 1,000 times worse than what they're showing you in those movies, even in the books. See, because you didn't have no private time. You was watched 24/7. I got my grand uncle. He used to tell me, I went down to North Carolina to visit before he died when I was a child. Everybody, you asked me, he always asked us questions, because old folks used to say, nobody asked us what happened. Nobody asked what's going on with us. It's after you the only one asked him. So in North Carolina, I'm asked him. He says, he was in a White House, right? A little short, small White House. He had about 2 or 3 bedrooms, right? And he's in his family, everything. He says, oh no, that was Master's house. See? He was old enough to remember. He said, that was Master's house. This was like in the 50s. He said, this was Master's house. Now, they were sharecroppers. They were still living down there on the farm. They were still sharecropping. He said, this was Master's house. And he was living better than other, because my aunt and them, they lived in log cabins that you would think that was like barns. It was worse than barns. They had no running water, anything. No toilets, anything. It's still a house and all that kind of stuff. But he said, this was Master's house. I said, well, where was y'all living at? So he took me to this little place that was no bigger than a pantry. A small bedroom, just got a toilet in it, basically. And he says, it didn't have a floor or anything. And it was like about 5 yards outside from where the Master's house was. Right in clear sight, where you can see it, right from when you can see it. And he said they would put us in here at night, everybody, right? All the men folks, right? And they had on for all the women folks. They lock up at night. They locked the door, lock them in there all night. No stove, anything. Locked me all night long. Make sure they couldn't run away. That's what he told me. Now, was he lying? I don't know if he lied about that, but that's what he told me. So what happened is that you didn't have no free time to be talking and scheming. You didn't have time for that. Even on the weekends, or like a so-called holiday, when they would let you, they'd be master and the taskmaster, they'd be sitting there watching every move you made. If you ran away because master fell asleep or something, because they watch every move you made. So you'd have access to black women. That's why you had so many demons, because they was the ones. I can't think of the name of it. I have it on here. Let me take 1 second. Let me see if I find this right quick. See if I find the name, because this is important. I can find this. No, I don't have it here. No, okay. There's a concept. What it means is called first night. It's a British word, but it's an old British language called first night. That means there's a practice. When they was over in Europe, they had turned Europe into a shithole. Because that's what they do. See, they didn't have us there. So they had turned Europe into a shithole. It was tyranny, poverty, disease. Remember the Black Plague and all that kind of stuff. That had only affected Europe. Think about that. Rats and roaches running around. It was terrible. See, when they came out there, they brought a shitstorm with them. They had a shitstorm in their wake. So the term was that the nobles, if the peasants, right? That's what they're Negroes, right? The peasants, before they could marry, because that whole idea of marriage, that's their concept. That's another story altogether. You need to look up what they call it, chastity belts and stuff. It's horrible. It's horrible up there. Anyway, so the idea was that you could not marry. In fact, you had to get the noble's permission to marry. If you're a peasant, you had to get to know who the noble was, prince or king or duke or whatever. You had to get their permission to marry. And if you did get their permission, the first night before you, as a male, could lay with your wife, the noble had to do it first. They call it first night, but I don't know how to say it in Old English. But it's called prima semptia or something like that there. It means first night. If anybody watched that story, Braveheart, that's what it's all about. Because he didn't want to do it. So he hid the fact he was going to marry that his wife. Then he didn't, so he hid the fact, and then so nobody could know when they was doing it, so nobody couldn't sleep with his wife. He wasn't going to have that. So that's what the whole thing was about. So that's what they would do. So oftentimes she might get pregnant first night, so that'd be the noble's son. Because remember that statement in Braveheart where the king said, we can't get rid of this guy. We breed him out of existence. In other words, just have all take other women and have eating his children, so it won't be no Scottish anymore. That's what they was doing. That was official policy in Australia. Look it up. That was official policy in Australia. They was going to breed Australians out of the black Australians out of existence. They're going to rape all the women, right? See, that was their official policy. It may still be. So that's the same thing. They took it to the extreme because only one could sleep with a black woman was Massa. He'd be the first one. He'd be the one to break her in. And maybe if you work hard, really hard, he'll tell you, you out there working in the field, and she out half time she's out there naked or lightly clothes because they want to jump down on it anytime they want to. So he says, okay, if you work hard, then you can sleep with Sarah on the weekend. So you busting your, because that's only, I mean, you want a female, right? So you busting your butt, you working double hard, so you can sleep with Sarah on the weekend. And you got some competitors, a couple other people, they trying to do it too. So if they say, well, your normal quota is like 5 bales of cotton, right? So you can produce 7, or maybe some other people produce 7 too. So now you got 3 or 4 other people produce 7 too. So now all of them sleep with Sarah on the weekend. That's where the idea of trains came in. A whole bunch sleep with one woman. That's where that shit came in from. See, a lot of stuff that you see what's going on right now. You see black folks doing that stuff that's counted for slavery. They learned that stuff in slavery. A whole bunch of men sleeping with one woman. Because I know when I was growing up, that was I saw a lot of stuff. I never did it, but I saw a lot of doing it, and some of the girls went along with it because they ain't on no bed either. I know one instance. There was this guy, Bobby Brown. That was his name. I don't have nothing to do with what you call it, right? Him and his brothers. So I'm with this guy, you know. I'm calling myself liking his sister, right? His cousin. So he comes by. He says, "Hey man, let's go over to Robbie's Iron House." So we go over there for some reason. I don't even know why, right? And I'm about 16 years old, 15 years old at the time I get there. We go out in the basement, and they got a bunch of girls down there, and they pull trains on them. So I got the hell out of there, right? And the girls apparently, they was going along with it. How they got busted, they go back home, they got their girls in their notebook. Mom said, "What you got your girl in your notebook?" And then the whole thing comes out. They call the police. Next thing I know, I'm standing on the corner with this guy. Now I know, right? I was telling you about. Police come by, grabbing everybody. Grabbing everybody. See? But one of the girls in the car said, "Well, it wasn't him, so they didn't get me. They got everybody else." Snap them all up. See? And the girls didn't mind because they thought they was making the boys happy and the guys, the girls, and you hear, I'm pretty sure those of you my age or around know, I don't know if this stuff going on now, but sure did go along back then. This is what they did to us. They screwed our minds up so much that we love being abused. They call it Stockholm Syndrome. We start becoming masochists. We love being abused. We thought that was a natural way. You understand that, brothers and sisters, what they did to us. See? So we had a bunch of demons. That's how they produced demons. Because most of the children that was born, for the first child was born, the black woman had was mostly master's children. Almost all of it. Because most of the time he was sleeping until she had a child, and then maybe afterwards he might let some black folks sleep with her. But even if he let them, they didn't let you marry. That's what I'm talking about, jumping over the broom. They didn't let you marry anybody because it wasn't yours. They were slaves. That would still belong probably to him, and they could take that woman and separate them anytime they wanted to, right? And they say, okay, well you could sleep with her, right? And then you in there sleep with her, right? If you had time, if you weren't too tired, and then he'd walk in there and tell you to get up off of her, and he'd get on. You gotta stand there and watch. This is true, bro. I ain't making this up. You gotta stand there and watch while he's sticking to your old lady that you think is your lady, wasn't yours to begin with. You gotta stand there and watch. See? And if he was one of those, broken wrists, he might do you too. Tell you to bend over afterwards. Well, have he bend over for you? Because you see how freakish they are. So how you think when they had nothing to restrain them and they could do anything they want to do with you, and you had a freak for a master, what you think you was going through? So now we see all these black folks, males out here, right? They're walking and talking like females and everything else. How do you think all that stuff come about? You don't see that in Africa. You go to Africa like that, you won't go over there like that. And you don't go in with hair. You see anybody in Africa, men with hair braided? That's not African. Hair braided, all that kind of stuff. So brothers, just understand. This Abrahamic covenant is a covenant God made with you, and he just came to prove that he's going to fulfill it because he showed up on time like he's supposed to. He raised Elijah Muhammad, right, to remind you of it, right? And then he warned, he told you Abraham, that's the whole story of Exodus. Joshua come to a measure of the covenant. He'll be teaching about the covenant. That's all he'll be teaching about because he's the one to fulfill the covenant, take you back home. That's what Joshua would do. He's the high priest who will take you back home. That's his whole purpose. And it says he will come suddenly to Elijah's temple. But if you look at that story, you got a bunch of characters. First you got the God, then you got Moses, then you got a lion Aaron that take the seed of people. Read it. God was, he said, Farrakhan says that he was anointed. No, God was against him. He was angry with Moses, even suggesting to even have a spokesman. Read it. But he turned people against, had people worship the golden calf, Sunnism, and everything else, right? And then came Joshua. And when Joshua came on the scene, right, they had to separate Aaron's followers from his followers, and they killed all of Aaron's followers, wiped them all out. His followers, their family, and everything else. That's the story. So it said Abrahamic, the master of the covenant, had to come and clean up. Why does he have to? What does he have to clean up? Because Elijah Muhammad made a mess? No, the mess that Farrakhan made. Because he's a demon. He's a liar and a demon. He's a son of perdition that were taking the seeds of people for it. That's why it says, why I tell you that, it says there'll be somebody that will rob the nation. Did Elijah Muhammad rob the nation? Did Master Muhammad rob the nation? Is Joshua robbing the nation? Suleiman, he asked you for a dime. How can you rob somebody? You don't ask for nothing. You go in the bank, you don't take anything, you don't ask for anything. How the hell are you robbing it? So you can't ever say I'm robbing anything. It's impossible because I ain't asked for anything. You couldn't give me anything if you wanted to. I don't need what you have. If you're a God, you don't need anybody giving you any damn thing. That's what being a God is, power and force. That's not a parasite. So who's the only one asked for something, not giving anything? That wasn't Master Muhammad. That wasn't Elijah. Elijah was the moon. He got the light from Pharaoh. He got the light from Master Muhammad. He shined it back on you. But Farrakhan is just the darkness. You shine a light. He just absorbs it. You don't get nothing back. You get nothing back from darkness but darkness. You give him all his wealth and everything. What he's done, he's pocketed and he's giving you what? Nothing. Don't give me that shit about he hasn't given you a damn thing. Oh wait, he giving us self-improvement. Really? Well, hell, what you need? Did you need Farrakhan to tell you to go over there and get Dianetics and Scientology? You need him for that? You need him to tell you to go into Sunnism? Do you need him for that? So what else has he given you besides that? Where does he give you from himself that you couldn't got from anybody else? What has he given? Because he can't produce anything, because I said devils and demons can't produce anything. They parasite. They can't produce blood, they can only suck it. They can't give you, they can only suck it. That's all he does. He can't produce anything. What has he produced of himself that he hasn't stolen from someone else? What has he produced of himself? Nothing. But you give him. He's robbing God because of the money that he says, wait a minute, okay, is this simple enough, brothers and sisters? He claims he has an economic program. He's begging money for 40-something years, right? Economic program, right? So that means money you sending for the economic program should have been to build a nation, right? But he's building anything? So that means what he's done with that money? He's built mansions for himself. He got nice cars and all kinds of luxury items for himself. So is that not the definition of robbing God? The money you give him for the nation? Because it says you have robbed this nation. So the money he's giving him for the nation, has he given it back to the nation? Has he built anything? No. That means he's robbing this nation. It's right there, Malachi. Hope you understand, brothers and sisters. Abrahamic covenant. Read it. We're going home. Arabia. The messenger of covenant is here. Farrakhan is a big liar. He's a demon. And you got to keep asking yourself, why has he not told you, because this information, I've been telling you this information for over a year now, that Africa is not affected by this virus. It's passing over them. It was passing over Haiti, right? Every place with black folks, mostly, it was passed, but except for here, and it's passing over us here, it's not affecting you. Right? I mean, it's affecting you, it's not going to kill you. Because that's the purpose of the virus, to kill. They kill the firstborn elderly. You'll get it, but you won't be killed. It won't kill you. I've had it. It didn't say you wouldn't get it. It said it would kill the firstborn, the elderly. That's what the firstborn is, and that's exactly what it's doing. And they know exactly that's what it is. That's why they're paying, because they know their time is over. Now they're trying to soften you up. They're trying to get you to forsake the Abrahamic covenant. Because if you forsake it and you deny it and you don't want it, then nobody's going to force it on you. If they get the whole nation to despise it, then God's obligation to us is finished. But if you sign a contract, he's got to fulfill the contract unless you make the contract null and void by saying you don't want it. You already filled your part, but now it's time to get payment. You refuse the payment. You refuse the payment because you say, oh man, See, put it like this. Here you is, you done paid for a Lamborghini. You've been paying for installment payments, right? So for 40 years, you've been paying for installment. Then finally, you make your final payment. See? So now it's time for you to get your Lamborghini. See? But then the salesman comes and says, well, man, you sure you want that Lamborghini, man? Because, man, it's expensive. I mean, yeah, you pay for it, but, man, you know how much it's going to cost to maintain that damn thing? You got to get you a garage, the insurance, man, and the tires, man. You know how much tires cost this thing? And repairs, you know how much all that costs? Insurance going to be, can you really afford that? Man, what you said, BMW I got over there? Now, that, man, you probably handle that one. See? Because that one, it won't be anywhere near as cost as that Lamborghini, because, man, you probably won't hardly be driving it because it costs so much to even, driving the gas, and you can't put cheap gas in it. And you buy it. So now you got the BMW. When you already paid for Lamborghini. You ain't give me no refund. So now, a year later, right? Oh man, that was a bad mistake, man. I should have kept my Lamborghini, man. I paid for it, man. It was okay, but it ain't, it ain't. Then you go to the judge. Judge, what the hell you want? You made the dream. You had it. You paid for it. You just pick it up and you let them talk you out of it. That's your problem, ain't ours. You accepted it. So if you accept reparations, you accept the 6 states and the worst part of planet Earth, and reparations, and all that BS, and stand over here with the people that's been oppressing you and destroying you, and now you call them your brothers, and they're devils, and that's what you want, then God will give it to you. And if you come back running later, oh man, no, too late. Hey, we came over here, we fulfilled the promise we made to you. You said you didn't want it. You let this flim-flam Farrakhan talk you out of this. You go with him, you go with him. Don't come, hey, you got it. That's what you got. That's what you asked for. Now you got it. And they give you reparations. That's a big joke. If they gave every black person in America $1 million, $1 million, you know how much that money would be worth in 6 months? Even if they didn't play the games with the money. Remember, their money is an illusion anyway. Even if they didn't play games with the money, you would give it back to them in a year. Because you buy some more raggedy ass house, right? Some more screwed up car. Oh, I got me a BMW now. See? Some more house. See? The car is going to depreciate, right? On top of that, the house is not going to appreciate either. It's going to depreciate, right? If you even have stuff enough to do that. By the time you do a vacation, hang out, and take care of little Susie and Antoinette and everybody else that you're screwing around with, you'll be broke in a year. And that master hands clean. Because he said, we paid you off for everything we did, you accept it. See, we pay. See, if you go out there and rip somebody off for $1 million, see, and then you go into arbitration, go to court arbitration, right? And the guy says, well, okay, I'll tell you what. I'll give you $10,000 and we'll drop it. I'll give you $10,000 cash right now, and we forget about the quarter. And he said, okay, then hell, you'll come back in a month later and say, man, he owe me $1 million, man. He only gave me 10. Yeah, but you accepted the $10,000. You accept $10,000. Get the hell out of my court. Abrahamic covenant put you back on top of the planet, put you on top of civilization, put you back on the throne where you belong because you're the creators. But you want to accept some bullshit deal from slave master, so the salesman is Farrakhan. That's what he's trying to sell you. He's trying to sell you on stand here. We say, we ain't going nowhere. He's trying to sell you on stand here. Some six pork soaked states with topsoils almost run out. Land-bound states at that. So it means you're still totally under master's control. Because once you gave it to you, then what we do, right? Do you know they could take and give you that money? They can give you $1 billion, and then they let this inflation going down. That $1 million would be worth nothing in 6 months. It'll cost you $1 million for a loaf of bread. See, they would tell all the white folks, take and put your money in in metals, so, precious metals. Put it in yen, put it any place out of dollars, out of America. See, they wouldn't know to do that. They invested in any place. They're only going to do it for about a year, and then let the dollar inflate. Just let it inflate. So it won't affect them because they got precious metal, gold and stuff that's not going to be affected by that. See? And so therefore, your $1 billion that you got, you'd be buying, paying $1 million for a loaf of bread. See? $500,000 for a bowl of soup. $250,000 for a bottle of water. That's what they would do. Then after you all broke, and then you come running back to Master. You broke, Master. See? Then they stopped inflation. Right? Restore the dollar. Everybody would change back to, and you would be broke, but you paid off now. You paid off now. Now you're broke. You got 6 states out there where you can't run, because if the thing is, ask yourself, if Farrakhan was trying to really build something, he said he built a damn thing. So if he's really planning on getting you 6 states, he ain't even trying to do that. He's just telling you that because he got 2 feet in the grave. He damn near dead anyway. He ain't got everything he got. Everything, all the money you gave him, he got it set up for his children. They already set up in Saudi Arabia because they've been paid off to stop you from talking about that Abrahamic covenant because they don't want you to come back and take that land. They already set up in Saudi Arabia. That's where they're going to disappear so fast once he's dead. You won't even blink your eye. You won't even know where they are. That's including Ishmael and all of them. Ishmael might be stupid enough to stick back around with her. He's talking to Farrakhan, the mother way of player. He might be stupid enough because he's dumb anyway to do something like that. Otherwise, everybody else is gone. You won't even see him from no more. And you go in your 6 states if you got them, right? You can't run them because if he was trying to set you up for that, how come he not setting all that money you get? How come not paying schools? How come not teaching electricians, teaching mechanics, teaching electronic engineers, right? You know, mechanical engineers, doctors. See, mathematicians. Why is he not doing that? See, because he ain't planning on getting you a damn thing. If you got it, who's going to run it? Matt's going to run it for you? Brothers and sisters, this is truth that the original people would hear it if they heard it. They would hear it if they heard it. They would listen to it if they heard it. The demons will make sure they never hear it. Because it comes to my light that some of these clowns out here, they even taking this angel message and they're trying to make like I stole it from Elijah Muhammad. Or they're taking it and using this, oh, here's the angel key, and act like they broke the seals and it came from them. Because they're doing everything they can to block this light. So they have our people walk around the shadows of the light, or their shadows that they're in the light, in the darkness, their light that their shadows are casting. And we're about to destroy them in a minute. Because Master Muhammad's getting ready to blow away that darkness in the east. He's getting ready to blow away that fog in the east. He's getting ready to blow it away, totally away. And I'm getting ready to blow it away here. See, because he's blowing away over there by getting rid of false Israel. Because that's the foundation of this big lie, this big fog we in, this big dream. Because you've been in a dream for 35,000 years. Religion is a dream. You've been in a dream for 35,000 years. And I'm getting ready to demon over here. And that's Aaron, Farrakhan. All that's happening within days. Bet your life on it. Take it to the bank. See? Because they got you in this fog of religion, which is a big scam. Because you can't prove any of it. It's only one reality. So why you got all these other realities? Religion is supposed to be a reality, but you can't prove it. You can't prove any of it. And they got so many of them. They tell you it's one God, but they got all these religions. They have no connection to reality, nothing. They tell you to believe in stuff that you can't prove it exists. Who are the angels? I don't know. Who are the jinn? I don't know. Where's God? I don't know. Who is God? I don't know. You know, say his name. Where is it? I don't know. Where the devils? I don't know. Who are the devils? I don't know. The demons. Who are they? I don't know. Who is hell? Where's hell? They don't know anything, but you're supposed to believe in something you have no idea what the hell it is. It's all a big scam. It's all about the Abrahamic covenant, brothers and sisters. They don't want you going home. They don't want you to return to the top of civilization. They want you to return to the seat of God. See, because they've been the gods for the last 500 years, and they screwed everything up because they don't have the power that we have. They're like Jupiter trying to control the universe, trying to control the solar system. Excuse me, the sun, right, controls the solar system. See, but that planet, right, Jupiter, if the sun wasn't here, it could have some control, but the planets be bumping into each other, colliding and everything, because it doesn't have the gravitational and the magnetic force or whatever to keep everything in motion like the sun does. So when we left them in charge, they, nothing but war, trouble, disease, everything else. But now their time is over. Hope you understand, brothers and sisters. Abrahamic covenant, look it up. That's not what you know about. That's your covenant. You do have a choice. The whole idea with Farrakhan is to think you have no choice. We ain't going nowhere, that's what he's saying. That means he's calling Elijah and Farrakhan, and they call Elijah and Master from him a liar. We are going somewhere, you have a choice. But by telling you have no choice, if you think America is the only game in town, you don't have no choice, you got to be here, then you're going to try to make it work. Unless you want to commit suicide. So you're going to try to be a good American. You're going to try to American dream. You're going to try to go for the money. You're going to try to, because you want to be successful for yourself and your family. That's what you're trying to do, to make you abandon your true history, abandon your true inheritance, right? To stay here on Master's plantation. Because as long as you're on Master's plantation, what are you doing? If you work and you help him build a Master's dream, help him build what he wants, his reality. You're working, right? You build every what you want. You gotta live. You need money. So where do you get money from? You gotta give him Master. Master tell you what to do with the money. He controls the money and what you can buy with it. And what you buying, you help him Master's dream. You fulfill his reality, which is totally against yours. Hope you understand, brothers and sisters. The Abrahamic covenant. 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 Just keep saying it, brothers and sisters, because that's your heritage. And now you're at the time to collect that Lamborghini you've been paying for, and they're trying to bamboozle you, trying to trick you out of buying a Texas BMW. No, the best place to plant is yours. All that sand will blow it away. The will is to get your transportation over there. Now they admit their will is there. So why is it there? Hope you understand, brothers and sisters, the Abrahamic covenant. Assalamu alaikum.